Hey, what's up, fam? Thank y'all for tuning in once again. As always, be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And when you do subscribe, hit the notification bell so every time I drop a video, you will be the first to know about it. So it's a story that I've been following for maybe about a year. It's about a young brother down here in Texas who was suspended for having dreadlocks. But before him, there was another young brother who went through the same issue with the same school district a couple of years ago when it came to graduation, and they originally wouldn't let him graduate or walk across the stage. Then a judge, I believe, like they or not, how do you say it? Put the ruling on the back burner, saying, "Hey, we're gonna wait, look into this long, more in depth. In the meantime, let the brother graduate, him to graduating." In the end, I think the judge, the judicial system sided with the school district on the dress code, hair policy. Then next thing you know, they created the Crown Act, which was supposed to stop discrimination on hairdos. So then this young brother went to school with long dreads, and they suspended him not once but twice. And all of our people were like, there's a Crown Act. How can they get away with this? So there's a fight back and forth. So now, a few days ago, the judge actually made a ruling, and it's got a lot of Black Americans upset. So let's get into it, because right on time, the Democrat Party is going to swoop in and save Black America. But let's get into it. This is from BBC.com, and it reads, Texas judge upholds school suspension of Black student over dreadlocks. It says the Texas judge has ruled that a school district did not discriminate against a Black high school student when it punished him over his dreadlocks. Barbers Hill, ain't that kind of ironic? The school is Barbers. Barbers Hill Independent School District suspended G.R.O.W.T.H, 18, last August, saying his hairstyle violated its dress code. The judge found the Houston area school did not break a state law banning race-based bias on hair. An attorney for the family said they plan to file an appeal. Meanwhile, the student will remain on suspension and removed from the school's regular classrooms. Chambers County Judge Chap Kane III ruled in favor of the school district after about 3 hours of testimony on Thursday. One question I have is, this brother has been suspended since August, and I think he was suspended again right after that. Can anybody tell me what his grades are looking like right now? How is his schooling and his learning being affected due to this suspension? I'm willing to bet it's not doing too well. Now, I did a story on this a few months ago to where they said that the hair is not the only thing that Brother George has not the only way that he has violated school policy. They say he's been disruptive in class and has been disciplined for that also. So the hair is just the icing on the icing on the cake. The saying is, of what I try to relate to youngsters and people in general. Don't give people a reason to do what they want to do in the first place. Now, you may be disruptive in class. They ain't been able to do anything because, the way the laws are now, teachers and staff members can't really do anything to these kids. The kids got more rights than the teachers. Why you say a lot of these teachers now are like retiring from teaching because it's not worth it. Because the kids can be disrespectful. They can threaten to fight the teachers, cuss them out in the middle of class, disrespect them, get in the teacher's face, push the teachers. But if the teacher lays one finger on that child, the teacher can be suspended, got to do an investigation, and it's unfair, but the child remains in the classroom upon further investigation. And teachers are like, I'm not putting up with this. There's no way. Did not grow up respecting my parents and my elders to get here, teach these little these little cretins at least try to, and they have no respect for me. And y'all expect me to do this on a daily basis and just put up with it from some kids. There's no way in hell gonna put it up with it from some kids. They ain't my kids. Shoot, y'all can have them. And so I understand that. And we as adults understand that because these kids are bad as hell. They think they can get away with anything. And then the moment you put your foot down as an adult and show your authority, all hell breaks loose. Now all of a sudden you're the problem, when that's far from the truth. So anyway, like I said, I want to know what this brother's grade's looking like. That's something I want to see in these stories that's not being told. And again, like I said in the last story, like, where's his dad? Where's his father? It says Mr. George spoke of his anger, sadness, and disappointment outside court after the decision. The school district referred to its dress code, which says hair cannot be below the top of a t-shirt collar, below the eyebrows, or below the earlobe when let down. So it basically got to go like, kind of like this. That's like, it can go like that. That's about it. Well, up to this point, like a chili bowl almost, But Mr. George refused to cut his braided dreadlocks, with the family citing its cultural significance in the Black community. Look here. I consider myself being part of the Black community, okay? I don't have no one in my family. I don't know too many. I may know a couple of people in my lifetime, a few people who wore braids, talking about the guys, who wore braids or dreadlocks. Most of us always had fades. I've had, short cut with waves in my hair since high school, junior high school. That's part of my culture, wearing with the waves. I did it like this and worked on this because I saw older guys who had waves all around their head. And I'm like, how you do that? And they say, just brushing. So that's what I did. That's part of my culture. I can recall being in high school and the group Crisscross was famous. And they wore braids, okay? So I thought, man, I used to have a box in junior high. So I'm thinking, cut it off when I went to high school. And I'm like, wait a minute, I think I want to have some braids. So I tried to grow my hair out some more. And my mom and parents were like, nah, that's not happening. Not in this house. And so ended not being, ended up not being able to do it. And I look back on it and I appreciate that, because the thing you have to understand is you got to understand the society that you live in, the world that you live in. We as Black Americans are not controlling anything in this country. If you want to go to, let's say you want to get a job, get a career, most of these places are not going to hire nobody with braids and dreads in their hair, especially guys. Not going to do it. Because first of all, it's, whether you like it or not, it's intimidating, the hair. There's a stereotype. I mean, back in the day, we had dreadlocks, and the first thing they thought about were Jamaicans. And Jamaicans had a stereotype. Matter of fact, they had a whole Jamaican gang down here back in the 80s and 90s that caused, as they would say, caused a lot of problems with law enforcement back then. So you come around trying to wear dreads and braids like them, stereotype. The braids also, gang culture, street culture, thug culture. That's the stereotype. Now you might think, oh man, I'm just looking cool. That's just the style. That's fine and dandy. But to the powers that be, that's how they look at it. They look at it as a stereotype. They look at it as something that's detrimental, and they're not having it. Whether it's, no matter if it's black, white, whoever the case may be, they're not having it. And unfortunately, while you're in their society, you have to follow their rules to a point. Now, you can do like a lot of our Black Americans have done recently and get this Crown Act passed, which, like I always try to say, to make changes, you got to have, it's about politics and money. You got to be able to, utilize both. You can get out here and protest and cry and mad and, be mad and talk about how people doing you wrong and how they hurt you and hurt your feelings. But if you ain't getting laws passed, if you ain't got the money to get, to put in politicians' pockets, it's really for naught, but it doesn't mean you don't stop, using your voice to cry out about, things that you feel is unfair, things you feel is being changed, because you continue to do that, but you got to add something to it, something tangible to make sure changes are made. So they tried it with the Crown Act. But the issue is, and let me continue to read this just for a second. It says, let me go say, but Mr. George refused to cut his braid, his dreadlocks with the family, citing its cultural significance in the Black community. Last year, Texas passed the Crown Act, a state law designed to prohibit race-based discrimination against people based on their hairstyle. Darisha George, the student's mother, I don't see nobody saying the student's father, but anyway, Darisha George, the student's mother, filed a complaint on her son's behalf, accusing the district of violating the newly passed law. The school district filed its own lawsuit in September, asking the court to settle the matter. And Thursday's ruling was the outcome of that case. See, the school even said, hey, we're gonna get the law involved. If we're wrong, then we're wrong. But if we're right, you ain't coming back to the school unless you cut your hair. However, Barbers Hill School Superintendent Dr. Greg Poole defended the school's decision, saying that the Crown Act did not mention hair length specifically. So we get up there and do all this fussing and fighting, making this big deal. Go in and do this Crown Act, and you miss one little detail. You got all these lawyers, lawmakers, law abiders, law readers, law studiers to make sure that this law, there's nothing in this law that they can come back and bite you on. And yet you miss the point of the link. And what's funny is that really, that's all the judge said is, hey, he can't go back to school because because the school is right. The Crown Act, you can have any kind of hairstyle you want, but you just can't, your dress is just too long, period. So he can't go to school. Whether you think it's discriminatory or not, which it probably is, I can see that. I can go with that. But like I say, hey, it's their world. You just got to keep fighting. But sometimes it's just some things. The dude is 18 years old. He should be a senior getting ready to graduate. If this is such a big deal, why not have him change schools? Because I'm sure the other schools that who said that they would just welcome him in with open arms. Because isn't that what we always try to teach our kids? Is that don't go where you're not wanted. Period. I mean, you want to be able to have the ability to go and do as you please, but going somewhere to where or you feel that they don't want you there doesn't make sense. And if they got people over here, like I said, I guarantee there's some schools that said he can go there. He just didn't want to do it. So, like I say, sometimes you got to choose your battles. You got to pick your battles. It said he was removed from class and placed on in-school suspension and later required to attend an off-campus program. So I guess he's going to school somewhere. He has to sit on a stool for 8 hours in a cubicle, his mother told the Associated Press in August. That's very uncomfortable. Every day he come home, he said his back hurts because he has to sit on a stool. Barbers Hill ISD has previously made news headlines over the dress code conflicts with its black students. DeAndre Arnold and Caden Bradford were required to cut their dreadlocks in 2020, and the two students' family sued. In that case, a federal judge ruled that the district's hair policy was discriminatory. A federal version of the Crown Act passed in the House of Representatives in 2022, but did not pass in the Senate. So, like I said, it was already a case about the dreads even a couple years before. But now this has been going on since last August. Okay, August, September, October, November, January, February, March, April, no March. So 6-7 months. But even longer than that, because you had the other two guys from a couple years ago, right? But right on cue, with this being an election year, like I said earlier, here comes the Democrats to save the day or to save the vote. This is from blackenterprise.com, and it says U.S. Rep joins fight against hair discrimination in Texas public schools. Representative Sheila Jackson Lee joins fight against hair discrimination in Texas schools after a state court ruling validated a high schooler suspension for his locks. It says she joined the fight for wearing his locks. Representative Jackson Lee spoke at a press conference on February 23rd to urge the Department of Education to investigate the matter of G.R.O.W.T.H. In footage shared by Fox 26, the 18-year-old student has faced suspension for his locks since the start of the school year in August. George has been forced into alternative school or in-school suspension after the administrators informed him that his locks violated the school dress code. However, George and his family have argued that his punishment for having a natural black hairstyle violates the Crown Act, which was legalized within the state in May 2023 to prohibit race-based hair discrimination. She said, "I never thought I'd be standing here in 2024 to fight this fight," she said. The opinion to say that a teenage boy has to be isolated in a cubicle or a class and cannot interact with other students because he has locks that are way up on his head, not doing anything to disturb the respect he would have for his fellow students, for his teachers, for his activities that are needed. There is nothing. The Texas lawmaker continued. She's a lawmaker. Okay, so she probably had something to do with this Crown Act that forgot about putting in, talk about the length of your hair. The Texas lawmaker continued, rooting that she is stunned. She has to rally behind high schooler to ensure that he is not discriminated against. I am stunned, literally stunned, of a fight that I had to make for a young Mr. George to be treated like a decent human being and to be able to receive an education that the tax dollars of his parents and his family pay for every single day, expressed the elected official. Are you sure about that? But anyway, her support of George comes after a recent court ruling in favor of Texas school district, saying it is not violating the Crown Act, saying the issue is with the length of the teen's locks. So why don't he just trim it? Think about it though. Like I say, you got to choose your battles wisely. Why don't you just trim the locks? Come with a compromise. That's usually how deals are made. There has to be a compromise. A lot of times, one side doesn't win over the other. You could have trimmed them locks, get through school, and then afterwards, if you choose to do whatever you want to, or go to a college or a job that does not require you to cut your hair, then you can let it continue. You can continue to let it grow. It's just that simple. Like I said, it has to be a compromise. Now, if you want to cut them off completely, to cut off your nose, spite your face, and that's on you. But come on now, let's choose our battles wisely. The Crown Act does not give students unlimited self-expression, share pools in a written statement detailed by the Houston Chronicle. High expectations have helped make Barber ISD a state leader in all things in high school standards, benefits, and ethnicities. Falsely claiming racism is worse than racism and undermines efforts to address actions that violate constitutionally protected rights. Jackson Lee intends to seek justice on behalf of George, believing the issue violates the Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 as a legal battle continued. Number one, Miss Jackson, this is an election year. Now, I don't know if y'all recall, but she just lost. She was state representative and technically stepped down so she could run for mayor in Houston. She ran for mayor. She lost. Barely got any votes. People barely came out to vote because they sick and tired of these, these Democrats talking and not doing nothing. So she lost. There was a young sister, I don't know her name, but she's running for the state representative position that Miss Lee, stepping down from. Now, but when Sister Lee lost the mayor's race, now she's trying to get back into the representative seat. And so now there's a push to get the young lady who worked for her. And they say that Miss Jackson told this young lady that she would back her in her campaign to become the state representative while she becomes mayor. But because that fell through, now Miss Jackson is not she put her name back in the hat to be on the ballot. So anyway, it's just it's the same tactics that they do all the time. Something big come up, it seems like racism. So now here she comes. She's gonna fight the good fight to help this boy get his justice. You know, by the time that happens, oh hell, he'll be out of school by then. But she's gonna help get his justice for his hair, and that way she'll look great in the black community, and she'll get that support that she wants, and so to help her win. That's what she's banking on, right? But anyway, I'm like, hey, I feel like, she's too old. She needs to step down. I mean, it's over for her. You know what I'm saying? So, but like I said, Democrats do the same thing all the time. But enough about Sister Jackson. Let me talk to this young brother myself, since it seems like there's no one talking to this young man. If there are two things that the Black American community needs to understand. If you plan on having a career, a decent job in this country, you have to play by the rules to a certain extent. And I say that because you can play by the rules, but then once you learn the rules and understand how the rules go, then you can kind of see how maybe you can tweak the rules a little bit, bend the rules a little bit in your favor to still be able to kind of do what you need to do what you want to do, but also do what you need to do to be successful. But there are rules and regulations out there that are just hard, like just hard pressed, that you're not going to change today. They may change tomorrow, but unfortunately, you may be part of that group of people that can't change it. For instance, to go to the military, and they tell you need to cut your hair for boot camp. If you go to some kind of boarding school, and they tell you need to cut your hair for some kind, for initially when you go in. You try to join one of these sororities or fraternities, whatever one is for the men, and they want you to cut your hair. If you want to be a part of it, you're going to cut your hair. That's just how the rules go. But you do it in order to take care of yourself and your family. Here's my thing. Let's say somebody comes up to this young brother and say, hey, I want to offer you a position in my company. Now you might say, hey man, he might grow up to be an entrepreneur, have his own business. Okay, fine. I mean, a lot of businesses don't work. Most businesses don't work. And maybe he may not make a lot of money, but I mean, if he's cool with that, which I mean, I'm cool with it as long as he's happy, and doing stuff and being a productive member of society and not, being detriment to the community, by all means going to do it. But if somebody say, hey, I want to offer you a large sum of money, work for my company, but you're going to have to trim that hair down. Trim it down short. Keep it pulled back. Because, because here you can't have that much hair because it could be distraction. It could be dangerous. It could be harmful. Things can happen. Because you go work at a warehouse in those conveyor belts and you got to tie your hair back. Some of you ain't got to cut your hair, but you got to tie your hair. But if you got too much hair to tie back, then what you going to do? Because if your hair hang at all, you can get rolled up, suspended, and or fired because it could be dangerous if your hair get caught up in a conveyor belt. What are you going to do? Oh, how about this scenario? Years ago, speaking of warehouse, that's what I pretty much started out doing as an adult. Well, I worked at Walmart at first, but then went to a warehouse and as an adult. Okay. Was married, had my oldest daughter, little baby, what have you. Making money. Time goes on, her mother, was going to school, and toward the end of her trying to get her degree, she needed to cut down on the hours she worked. And when she started, she had to cut down the hours she was working. I was working full time. Then it got down to the end, she had to pretty much cut out working for the most part. So I had to end up getting a second job. Other guys I worked with, a couple of guys I knew, they worked there too. One of the criteria, now they say, hey, we can get you on, you can make good money, you can work part-time, you off on the weekends, it's cool. You're just gonna work, work at this job full-time and then work at the other job part-time. Matter of fact, in my full-time job, I work like from 4 in the morning to 12 in the afternoon. Part-time, I work from like 5 to 2 or 5 to 3 or whatever. Something like that. 62, I don't think it was like 62, I believe. Yeah, 62, 6 hours. And then then get in the car, drive around the corner to my other job, sleep in the parking lot for a couple of hours, get up and work there 8 hours, go home, get about 3-4 hours sleep, get up. And I did that for like 18 months. Okay. But the criteria was I had to shave my mustache, my beard, because I had like a goatee. And man, I cherish the goatee. Because me, I'm like, dude, man's supposed to have, if he can grow facial hair, I need to have facial hair. It distinguishes him from women. That's the way I looked at it. Still look at it to this day. But you got people, military, they shave, guys shave their beards. Old businesses, when you worked at certain businesses, white collar businesses, had to cut your beard or whatever. So anyway, that was the criteria. Like, look, they're gonna pay this and the third, but to get the hours you need, but you need to cut your beard. And I was like, damn. And it hit me because it took a long time for me just to get that little goatee in this hair. I couldn't grow none of this. It was just this. Like, this is barely starting to grow in now, but that's all I had. So I'm like, damn, I gotta cut that? And they're like, yep. Because one of the guys I worked with, what was his name? Mr. Fuller, brother for James Fuller. He had a full beard, and I remember him coming to work and all this was cut off. And a dude, brother named Kenny. Well, Kenny always had his hair cut down, but he was like, no, them two. So I had to think about it. But then I had to think about what was best for my family at the time. What was important. You understand? Cultures and styles change. You cut your hair for the betterment of your education so you can get the heck up out of school. Since you refuse to move or refuse to compromise, which is probably two options that you should have taken. But now you done got so deep into it, you gotta see it to the end. But anyway, I had to make a choice. And the choice I made was, went to the interview, supervisor told me, hey, you start work tomorrow, next, whatever day it was, but you gotta cut your facial hair. I'm like, dang, when I heard him say it, still hurt. I said, okay, I'll do it. And that's what I ended up doing. Just, being clean shaven for like over a year. I say, hey, this is just temporary. It can grow back. And, I can grow it back here soon and start all over. But this is for the betterment of my family so that she can get finished out of school. I can pay these bills. You know what I'm saying? I can make sure to pay these bills and everything else that needs to be done and help her through school so she ain't got to worry about anything. That's what I did. And so that's what you got to decide. What is more important to you? You compromise for the betterment of your family, for your future. If not, you'll always be in these fights, always be the victim, because you could actually do this, get through school, hopefully get to a college or a trade. By the time your hair growing back to where you want it, you figured out what you want to do in life, because you're still young, you don't even know what you want to do. Yeah, or what you're going to end up doing. And you start to, figure out what you're going to do in life, what you're going to be in life, and you can go on from there and you can look back and say, hey, maybe you can make the changes to where nobody else goes through the discrimination that you feel you went through. But for the time being, like I said, you compromise, because they ain't making you cut it off completely. They just want you to trim it. But one family member said that, I believe it was his mom, said that, you know, with locks, you can't do them that short, especially with black coarse hair. But how do you start it? They got to start somewhere, right? They got to start when they short on your head. So, like I said, you could have had them like down. I've seen them plenty. I've seen it many times. Young guys with short, you know what I'm saying, short dreads and faded in the back. Could have compromised. But anyway, tell me what you think about this story. Like I said before, I say it again, man. Sometimes you got to pick your battles, and this really ain't worth fighting to this extent, at least not right now. But they closed now. I mean, you got the Crown Act. And what's funny is all the judge says, hey, just go back and change the law and put the length in it. That's it. It's not like we telling you just no forever. It's just go back to the drawing board and fix it. Fix it. But no, you still want to sit here and complain. And the judge say it's just one little thing you got to fix. You fix that, your problems are over. What's so hard about that? Some people too damn bullheaded and hard-headed to even see that, man. But anyway, tell me what you think about this story. Leave your comments below and then share it with the world. Let's dialogue, because we can talk about this. You know how we do it around here. Also, if you want to support the channel, go to the description box. There are links that you can go to help, or you can help support this channel. Don't forget to like, always subscribe, and always share. And with that being said, I leave you in peace, and I'll see you on the other side.